Chicago over the weekend, there was a march. There was a march, and on the screen you can see a picture of Jesse Jackson, and is that Father Flager right next to Jesse Jackson? I believe that is Father Flager right next to Jesse Jackson. So in Chicago, they had a march remembering nearly 800 victims of gun violence in 2016 alone. They were all carrying crosses with the names of the victims, and you had family members marching with the names of their fallen loved ones. Most of these people died due to gang violence. And the year started off with even more murders. On New Year's Day, two men got into an argument and shot each other, killing each other. And the year ended on New Year's Eve with a 24-year-old young man getting killed. Chicago is not for the faint of heart, man. Chicago has, and we discussed this, I believe, a year and a half ago, with the slaying of a 9-year-old boy, a gang execution of a 9-year-old boy. And, you know, before I get into the politics of it, it's just the humanity of it, right? There's a serious problem in Chicago. There's a serious problem across the country of gun violence, and not just gun violence, but gun violence for the sake of territory and property that people don't even own. There will always be the rise of crime when there are few economic opportunities and when there's poverty. It's a statistical certainty, right? Where you have poverty, you are going to have violence. Where you have poverty and you have access to guns, you're going to have even more violence. And I know Chicago has strict gun laws, but Indiana is like spitting distance from Chicago and the gun laws there. And Kentucky is not even far. I mean, guns come over the border all day long, every day, right? So it's a combination of factors. Yes, it's a combination of gang violence and black on black crime. I mean, all the things that these white people want us to say that they just want, they like, oh, you never want to talk about it. But yeah, no, we do. We actually do. And this is not the first protest. Father Flager and Jesse Jackson's there every single Saturday. Father Flager's there every single day of the week. You have marches and protests all day long against the violence that's happening in Chicago. Now, here's the thing. What's Johnson? I believe, I can't think of his first name, but Police Superintendent Johnson, he blames this on an anti-cop culture. Right? This is a cop-out. This is a cowardly move by a person who's responsible for the protection of the city. It's not an anti-cop culture that leads to violence. It is a combination of economic factors, a combination of gun violence and the access of guns, and it's a combination of apathy from policing agencies. Are you telling us that your police officers are too feckless to go out and stop the gun violence? Because if that's the case, then why don't we have the National Guard in there? Rahm Emanuel. And don't get me wrong, I do know how many problems there are with the hyper-militarized policing agency going and being damn near vigilante. This is how you get people killed, by police. I get that. And I know the problem with bringing in the National Guard to stop citywide violence. However, 800 people died this year, and everybody's scattering to find some way to place the blame. The problem is it's happening, and everyone's pointing fingers like a bunch of babies instead of going in and doing what they can. What are the people going to do? What can the people do? Okay, you expect them to have to turn people in and to have a no snitch culture? There's a no snitch culture in the police agencies. How can you expect something from the people that the leadership of the city can't even do themselves? So it's both infuriating because real people are dying, children are dying, innocent people are dying. But at the same time, there's really no political will to actually do something about it because they would rather play rhetorical games with the lives of people. Oh, this is an anti-cop culture problem. No, this is a problem of, I'll give you my microcosm. I never forget back when I was in ministry and church and stuff and, whatever. I used to go out on the streets and talk to people on the streets in the worst neighborhoods of South Florida. And it was hilarious and sad at the same time that the most dangerous streets that I would ever walk down, I could look a block away where it was safe and you'll see police patrolling. but they wouldn't come on the most dangerous streets. You could see drug deals happening right in front of me as I'm walking by. And my little young, idealistic, silly ass was trying to, go up and talk to people and, come on, let's do this. Let's do something better with our lives, et cetera, et cetera. Police nowhere to be found. There's nothing that happens in your city that the police don't allow for. Not on the streets. We can't control people in their home, but in the streets, there's nothing that's happening in Chicago the Chicago police are not fully aware of. And you want to blame this on an anti-police culture? Then you don't need to be a police officer. You need to turn in your badge, turn in your gun, and turn it over to people who genuinely have a vested interest in protecting the community. Not people who want to sit back and just complain and sit back and just politicize every single situation. Chicago is a confluence of factors and forces that requires far more than someone as feckless as Superintendent Johnson, whatever the hell his name is, someone as politically devious as Rahm Emanuel. It needs courageous leadership that's not going in to be vigilantes. And it needs economic opportunity in the poorest communities. And the problem is that, so this march was down the Magnificent Mile. If you ever walked the Magnificent Mile, it's actually Chicago is a beautiful effing city, right? There's a lot of wealth in Chicago. I mean, it's like, people talk about, oh, Chicago is X, Y, Z. No, metropolitan Chicago is one of the cleanest, safest, just beautiful places. But as soon as you go outside of metropolitan Chicago, you have abject poverty. You have real poverty. And when you have nothing but poverty, very few opportunities, people make their own opportunities. And it's usually at the barrel of a gun. So everyone who's complaining about, oh, where's black? Okay, so let's politicize it for a second. Everyone who's saying Black Lives Matter is nowhere to be found. Black Lives Matter is out there all the time. Just talk to Jamal Green, who's in Chicago protesting, getting arrested, protesting on behalf of not only police violence, but against regular black-on-black violence. Ask Father Flager. Ask Jesse Jackson, the Rainbow Push Coalition. See, people don't see what they don't want to see because then they'd have to change their weak-ass arguments. Last but not least, who the entire hell are people supposed to protest, right? There's always this argument, oh, Black Lives Matter wants to protest the police, but Black Lives Matter don't want to protest black-on-black crime. Like, do you know how stupid you sound when you say stuff like that? Do you know how dumb you... Who are they supposed to protest and petition? Are they supposed to protest and petition the gang lords, the gang leaders? Are they supposed to? Hey, listen. I'm petitioning you. Hopefully that the Fifth Street warlords will respect the life and property of the people in their district. It's not how it works. You can't protest criminals. You protest people with the legitimate use of power over you. So you petition your government to do something on behalf of you to stop the criminals. So even if Black Lives Matter never protested one time against police, against gangs, it's just completely illogical, completely. But I'm talking to completely illogical people. Not you, my audience, but the Blue Lives Matter, White Lie, all them other people. All right.